Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Outside with Easton. Haven't got a whole lot of time left today. I've got about 3 hours left till it gets dark, so we better get at this. I'm going to show you guys how to adjust the valves here on a Easton made wood splitter, one of these Galtech valves. So stick around. Well guys, like I said, today's video is going to be about adjusting the Galtech valves on this 1222. These are an auto cycle valve. These are Galtech valves. These are the best valves you can buy on a wood splitter right now. I know we've had competitors try these without much success. There's some parts in here that are exclusive to Easton made. There's some parts that we've developed, and that's why they work for us. And like I said, these are the best valves you're gonna find. Like these aren't a these are a valve that are going to cycle over and over and over again. These are a commercial valve. They're not an implement valve. They're not something that that it's meant for a wood splitter that's going to cycle 10, 15 quart a year. These are an industrial commercial valve that's going to last a long time for you. You don't very often need to adjust one of these valves. Normally when you get them, they will already be adjusted for you. The odd instance you might get some air in them. The detents might seat in a little bit better. There's a handful of reasons why you may have to adjust them, but it's few and far between. And if these things are running hot or cold, it doesn't make a huge difference in the performance of them, where the other valves, you have a hell of a time setting them. Whether they're hot or cold, they react differently. They're junk. I'll go right out there and say that they're not a good valve. So that's what we run here. I'll leave a link up here. I have a video where I've actually pulled these apart and shown you guys the internals of these valves and what makes them better and what makes them different. Like I said, these are a lot better valves than what the competition is running right now. Anyways, I'll show you how to do this, guys. So what we have here is it's an auto cycle valve. One handle locks on to go forwards. One handle locks on to go backwards. And the cylinder cycles down and back. So when you set these detents, you want to have the forward detent set slightly less than the retract detent. If you do not have them set slightly less, what's going to happen is when it reaches that pressure, just both of the valves will kick off at the same time. Instead of having one valve kick off at 1500 psi and one valve kick off at 2000. And that seems to be kind of the ballpark where we want these set at. Going forward, you want to see the forward detent set between 1500 and 1800 psi, and the retract slightly over 2000. I mean, do 2000 and 2500, and that's going to give you consistent results with these guys. When you're setting these, you can set them higher. That's not going to hurt the machine. It's not going to cause any detrimental instances. If you're in that range, that's normally where we would operate them. But if you want to set them higher, there's no reason you can't. If you find that you're into wood more often than not, this kicking the detent out, you can adjust the pressure higher, and it's not going to have any negative effects on the machine whatsoever. So I'll get into this, guys. I'll show you how to do this. I'll put these over here. So the detents are underneath each one of these caps, and you can see down here there's an Allen key here and one here. This here is just a dust cap. It serves no other purpose than being a dust cap. If you pulled that off, you lost it, you can just put the screws back into it. That's all that does. It just keeps dirt out of there. A lot of the times the early valves, we sent them out without them, and honestly, it's an option on the Galtech valve whether you want it or not. We put it on just to make it a little bit better. Let me set up here, guys. Well, now that I got the right tools for doing this, I'll show you how to do it. So that screw there comes out. That screw there comes out. And that is going to reveal your detent adjustment. There is an Allen key on the end of it here. That there is a jam nut, so it just jams up against this collar to keep that jam nut from loosening up, is what that does. And the sides of this collar, this barrel, are machined. That's a 7/8. So there's a few things you want to be aware of when you do this. You want to hold the barrel and loosen the jam nut. I normally use an adjustable for the jam nut because it is 1 5/8 inches, so it's a fairly large one, and an adjustable is a lot shorter than a 1 5/8 inches wrench. And then that 7/8 just holds the barrel. You want to hold the barrel tight like that. It doesn't need to be terribly tight, but then that just allows you to loosen that jam nut. You can see that that'll come right off if you want to. And then your Allen key will go on the end, and you want to, these are fairly sensitive. You don't want to turn it a long ways. If you turn it that much, that's a lot. You don't need to go that far. You just want to turn it ever so slightly when you're doing this, and you want to make sure the oil is warm. You want to make sure that this thing is up to operating temperature when you do this, because if not, it's going to change a little wee bit, not a lot, but it's better to have things right than not right. So if you want to do that, then watch your gauge, and as you turn that and cycle the pusher, you'll be able to see your adjustments on the gauge. You'll be able to see the gauge spike up to whatever pressure you have that set to. And again, you want to have this one set a little bit lower than this one. We want to have it a 300, 400, 500 psi differential between these two. So the next important part is using that jam nut to jam that up. You want to make sure that you have your 7/8 wrench back on there to hold it, and then you're just going to tighten that jam nut up. The next step is just to turn that in ever so slightly and make sure that that is well seated, because what a lot of guys will do when they do this is when they loosen that whole barrel will loosen in there, and there's a little, that detent section screws into the end of the spool in here, and when you loosen that, there's an O-ring in there that will come loose. When you run it, it'll wreck the O-ring inside here, and then oil will creep out the back of this, and it'll fill up your dust cap, and your detents will not work. You'll get maybe 3 or 4 cycles out of it, and then what'll happen is this will be built up in oil in here, so that spool won't be able to shift then. So you just want to make sure that when you're done doing that, everything is tight. You give that barrel one more snug like that, just to make sure that the whole detent is seated into the actual spool, and you're away to the races, guys. So anyways, guys, that is about all there is to adjusting the detents on one of these wood splitters, one of these Galtech valves on an Easton-made wood splitter. Again, guys, that valve is far superior to anything on the market right now. There's a handful of other companies running something similar to that. Some of our biggest competitors, again, they've tried them with no success, but I'll tell you, I've run both, and I've run lots of both. There's not even a comparison there. Like I said, we have a video comparing the two valves, pulling them apart. I will drop a link down below in the comments, so if you want to watch that video, it is down there, and it details the difference in the detents, the difference in linkages, why we chose this, and why we've chose to work with these Galtech valves. So anyways, guys, if you liked the video, give her a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button down on the bottom. I really hope to see you guys on the next video. Merry Christmas.